Your blind date didn't show up either. That's what the single dad whispered to the woman sitting alone, and in that moment 2 lives collided in the quietest, most devastating way. Because here's what nobody tells you about loneliness. It doesn't care how successful you are, how full your calendar is, or how many people need you. It finds you anyway. In an upscale Chicago restaurant, a billionaire CEO hiding behind a fake name and a city electrician who forgot he's more than just dad are about to discover that the bravest thing you can do isn't building an empire or raising a child alone. It's letting someone see you when every instinct screams to run. This is the story of 2 people who stopped performing and started living. Watch until the end to see what real connection costs. Drop a like comment where you're watching from, and let's begin. Let's rewind 6 hours. Because to understand why that whisper mattered, you need to see what it cost each of them just to walk through that restaurant door. Claire Harrington woke that morning in a penthouse that felt more like a museum than a home. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Chicago skyline like a painting she'd stopped noticing years ago. The view cost $7 million. She couldn't remember the last time she'd actually looked at it. Her phone alarm didn't ring. It never did. She woke at 5:45 every morning because her body had learned that rest was a liability. By 6, she was dressed in a slate gray suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. By 6:30, she'd answered 47 emails while her coffee went cold on the marble counter. The penthouse had a dining table. 10 seats. Hand-carved walnut. She'd never sat at it, not once, because sitting implied leisure, and leisure implied you weren't essential. And if you weren't essential, people stopped needing you. And if people stopped needing you, they might start seeing you, really seeing you. The parts that weren't useful. The parts that were just human. That terrified her more than any boardroom. Her assistant, Mara, arrived at 7 with a leather folio and the kind of efficiency that made Claire feel both protected and trapped. Mara had been with her for 9 years. Mara knew her schedule better than Claire did. Mara could read a room in 3 seconds and adjust strategy mid-sentence. Mara was brilliant. Mara was loyal. Mara had never once asked Claire how she was doing, because that wasn't the job. The morning passed in blocks. Conference call with London. Acquisition review. Risk assessment meeting where men 20 years older than her waited for her to approve their fear. She did. She always did. Not because she enjoyed the power, but because someone had to make the decision, and she'd learned young that if you hesitated, someone else would decide for you. And their decisions rarely had your best interests at heart. By noon, she'd made choices that would affect 400 jobs, redirected $8 million, and canceled a product line that 3 teams had spent 2 years developing. She did it all in the same calm voice she used to order lunch. A salad, dressing on the side, she ate it at her desk while reading depositions. The taste didn't register. Around 3, Mara appeared in her doorway with that particular expression that meant incoming personal question. Claire braced. Mara said, "Tonight, the thing." Claire didn't look up from her screen. "I remember. You could cancel." "I'm not canceling." Mara studied her with the cool assessment of someone who'd seen Claire survive a hostile takeover, a media scandal, and a shareholders' revolt without flinching. This made Mara nervous. That told Claire everything. "It's a blind date," Mara said carefully. "Arranged by a friend of a friend who doesn't know who you are. No security, no driver, no backup plan." "Correct." "Claire." "Mara." They looked at each other. Mara broke first. "If this is about that article calling you an ice queen, it's not." "Then what is it about?" Claire finally met her eyes. "When was the last time you saw me have dinner with someone who wasn't trying to sell me something or take something from me?" Mara opened her mouth, closed it. The silence answered. Claire returned to her screen. "I'll have my phone. I'll be fine." Mara left, but the worry stayed in the room like humidity. The truth. Claire didn't say out loud she couldn't remember the last time someone had touched her without an agenda. A handshake that wanted a contract. A hug that wanted access. Even her mother's affection came with quarterly reminders about grandchildren and legacy and how success meant nothing if you died alone. She was 38. She ran a firm worth billions. She employed 3,000 people. She had power most people couldn't imagine. And she ate every single dinner alone, not because she lacked invitations. She had 100 of those. Benefits, galas, networking dinners where everyone knew her name and nobody knew her at all. She meant alone, actually alone, the kind where you hear yourself chewing. Where the silence isn't peaceful, it's just evidence that you've optimized your life so efficiently you've eliminated the inefficiency of human connection. 3 months ago, an old college roommate had reached out. They'd had coffee. The woman had been warm, funny, real. She'd mentioned this app where you could set up blind dates, fully anonymous, just first names and general interests. You should try it, she'd said. Worst case, free dinner and a story. Claire had dismissed it immediately. Then she'd gone home to her empty penthouse and sat at her desk eating takeout sushi that cost $60 and tasted like cardboard. She'd downloaded the app at midnight, created a profile with a fake last name. No photo, just a description looking for conversation, no expectations. It had taken her 2 weeks to agree to a date. The man seemed safe enough from his messages. Polite, not trying too hard. He'd suggested the restaurant in River North, casual but nice, 7 o'clock. She'd almost canceled 6 times. At 6:15, she stood in her walk-in closet staring at rows of power suits and designer dresses that telegraphed exactly who she was. She needed something else, something that said nobody. She found jeans she'd bought 2 years ago and never worn. A simple sweater, flat boots. She pulled her hair back in a low ponytail. No jewelry except small silver hoops that came from a department store, not an auction house. She looked at herself in the mirror and felt like an imposter. Not because the clothes were wrong, because they were right. This looked like someone who could have a normal evening. Someone whose biggest problem was a blind date, not a quarterly earnings call. Someone she'd stopped being so long ago she wasn't sure she remembered how. She took a cab. Not the town car. Not the driver who called her Ms. Harrington and knew better than to ask questions. Just a regular cab with a driver who didn't recognize her and didn't care. The restaurant appeared through rain-streaked windows. Warm light. People inside laughing. Living regular lives with regular problems. She paid cash. Tipped exactly 20%. Walked to the door. Her hand was shaking. She almost turned around. Almost called Mara to send the car. Almost retreated back into the fortress of her own making where she was lonely, but at least she was safe. Instead, she opened the door. The host greeted her with professional warmth. She gave the name from her profile. He checked his list, nodded, led her to a small table near the window. "Your date should be here shortly," he said. She sat, ordered water, put her phone face down because looking at it felt like admitting she was already expecting disappointment. 7 o'clock came and went. 7:15, 7:30. People around her ate and talked and lived. She sat in the exact center of their lives and felt invisible. Not the useful invisible of blending into a crowd. The painful invisible of being the only person in the room who was unwanted. By 7:45, she knew. He wasn't coming. The humiliation wasn't about being stood up. It was about the hope. The stupid, reckless hope that maybe this time would be different. That maybe she could be someone else for one night. Someone worth showing up for not because of her portfolio but because of her. That hope was the thing that hurt. She should leave. She knew that. Walk out with her dignity intact. Go home. Delete the app. Return to the life that worked even if it hollowed her out from the inside. But leaving meant walking past all these people who'd watched her wait. It meant the host's pitying smile. It meant the bartender's knowing look. It meant confirming what she already suspected about herself, that even in disguise, even trying to be normal, she was still someone people didn't choose. So she sat. frozen in the exact mathematics of her own loneliness. That's when she noticed the man at the table next to hers. He sat exactly like she did. Still, contained. Phone face down, water glass untouched. His jacket had seen better years. His hands rested on the table like he was holding himself to the chair through sheer will. He wasn't looking at anyone. He wasn't checking his phone. He was just enduring. She recognized it immediately. The specific tension of someone who'd shown up for something that wasn't going to happen and was now deciding how long to perform hope before admitting defeat. He was being stood up too. The shared humiliation should have made it worse. Instead, it felt like the first honest thing that had happened all day. That's when he leaned toward her. Not invading her space. Just closing the distance enough to speak without the whole room hearing. And he said those words. Your blind date didn't show up either. 6 hours earlier across the city, Noah Parker woke to the sound of his son breathing. Ben slept in the twin bed across from Noah's. They shared a room in a one-bedroom apartment in Bridgeport. Noah had given Ben the bedroom when they'd first moved in, but Ben had nightmares. Bad ones. The kind where he woke up screaming for a mother who'd chosen to leave rather than stay. So Noah moved a second bed into his own room. He told Ben it was temporary. That had been 3 years ago. The apartment was small, 900 square feet. The heat was uneven. The pipes made sounds at night, but the rent was stable, the landlord was decent, and it was theirs. That mattered more than granite countertops or a view. Noah's alarm went off at 6. He silenced it before it could wake Ben. The kid had school, but school didn't start until 8:15, and 7-year-olds needed sleep more than they needed routine. Noah moved through the morning and practiced silence. Shower, coffee. He made Ben's lunch while his own toast burned slightly. He didn't remake it. Burnt toast was still toast. He'd learned not to waste food or time on perfection. Ben emerged at 7, rubbing his eyes, wearing pajamas with dinosaurs that were getting too small. Morning, bud. Morning. They ate breakfast together at a table that wobbled. Noah kept meaning to fix it. He was an electrician. He knew how to fix things. But somehow his own apartment always came last. Ben ate his cereal slowly the way he did everything. Thoughtful. Deliberate. Too serious for 7. Dad, yeah? Are you lonely? Noah's spoon stopped halfway to his mouth. He set it down carefully. Why do you ask? Ben shrugged. You're always here. Or at work, you never go anywhere. I go lots of places. You go to my school, and the store, and work. Ben looked at him with those eyes that saw too much. You don't go places for you. Noah felt something crack in his chest. Not break, just crack. Like ice at the start of spring. I'm not lonely, he said. I have you. But I'm your kid. That's different. Different how? Ben Nielsen struggled for words. Mrs. Klein has Mr. Klein, and they have each other. And then they have their kids. You just have me. Mrs. Klein was their neighbor. 60-something. Kind. She watched Ben sometimes when Noah's shift ran late. Ben loved her because she made cookies and didn't talk to him like he was a child. She talked to him like a small person with real thoughts. Noah realized Ben had been watching. Not just him. Everyone. Measuring his life against other lives and finding it lacking. Bud. Noah reached across the table. Ben's hand was so small in his. You are enough. You've always been enough. But are you happy? The question landed like a punch. Was he happy? He was surviving. He was providing. He was showing up every single day for a kid who deserved better than a father who was just going through motions. But happy. He couldn't remember the last time he'd laughed at something that wasn't Ben. Couldn't remember the last time he'd had a conversation about anything other than logistics. Work, school, bills, groceries, repeat. He'd been married once. To a woman he'd loved desperately. They'd had Ben. And somewhere in the sleepless nights and endless responsibility, she'd looked at their life and decided she wanted a different one. One without the minute. She'd left on a Tuesday. packed while Ben was at preschool. Left a note that said she was sorry, but she couldn't do this anymore. This. Their entire life together was just this. Noah had been angry, then devastated, then numb. Now he was just tired. He hadn't dated, hadn't tried. Because what woman wanted a man with a kid and a one-bedroom apartment and a job that paid enough to survive but not enough to impress? More than that, he didn't know how to be anything other than Ben's dad anymore. That identity had swallowed everything else. Noah the person. Noah who used to play guitar and read poetry and stay up late talking about nothing and everything. That Noah felt like someone he'd met once at a party and never seen again. "I'm working on it," he finally told Ben. Ben nodded like that was a reasonable answer. Then he finished his cereal and got ready for school. After drop-off, Noah went to work. City maintenance, electrical division. He fixed lights in parking garages and wiring in municipal buildings. It was steady work. Union benefits. Good people. Nothing glamorous. Nothing that would ever make him rich or important. But it was honest, and honest mattered. His co-worker Danny caught him at lunch. Danny was 50 divorced, twice perpetually optimistic despite all evidence to the contrary. "You look like hell," Danny said. "Thanks. When's the last time you did something for yourself? I treat myself to burnt toast every morning." "I'm serious. You're 36. You're not dead. When's the last time you went on a date?" Noah laughed. It sounded hollow. "I don't date. Why not? Because I have a kid. Because I work weird hours. Because I don't know how to talk to women anymore. Pick a reason." Danny shook his head. "You're making excuses." "I'm being realistic." "No, you're being scared." That stung because it was true. Danny pulled out his phone, showed Noah an app. "My daughter uses this. Blind dates, anonymous. Just coffee or dinner, low pressure. I'm not downloading a dating app." Why not? Because it felt desperate. Because it felt like admitting his life wasn't enough. Because what if he tried and failed and confirmed what he already suspected, that he was too damaged, too complicated, too ordinary for anyone to want? He downloaded it that night after Ben went to sleep. Created a profile with minimal information. Just his first name, age. Single dad, looking for conversation. He almost deleted it immediately. Then he thought about Ben's question. "Are you lonely?" He accepted a match 3 days later. A woman, no photo, just a first name and a simple profile, looking for conversation. No expectations. The low bar felt achievable. They'd messaged briefly. Set a time, a place. River North, 7 o'clock. Noah had told Mrs. Klein he had a work thing. She'd agreed to watch Ben without questions because she was kind, and because she probably knew he was lying and didn't care. Ben had looked at him before he left. "You look nice, Dad." Noah had changed shirts 3 times. Settled on a button-down that wasn't too formal or too casual. His good jacket, the one without stains or wear at the elbows. He'd looked at himself in the bathroom mirror and practiced smiling. It felt unnatural, like he'd forgotten how his face worked. He'd taken the train. Arrived 10 minutes early. Walked past the restaurant twice before going in. The host seated him at a small table. He ordered water. Put his phone face down because checking it made him look desperate. 7 o'clock came. He watched the door. Every woman who walked in could be her. None of them came to his table. 7:15, 7:30. The water glass sweated. The candle flickered. The couple next to him laughed about something trivial and beautiful. By 7:45 he knew. She wasn't coming. The disappointment wasn't about her. He didn't know her. It was about the trying. He'd tried. He'd shown up. He'd pushed past every instinct that told him to stay home where it was safe. And he'd gotten punished for it. He should leave. He knew that. But leaving meant admitting he'd been foolish enough to hope. Meant going home to Mrs. Klein's sympathetic smile and Ben's inevitable questions. So he sat. held hostage by his own humiliation. That's when he noticed the woman at the next table. She sat alone, perfectly still. Expensive clothes hidden under deliberate simplicity. Hair pulled back. No jewelry except small hoops. Phone face down. She wasn't scrolling, wasn't texting. She was just waiting. The same way he was waiting. She checked the door. Quick, subtle. The way you check when you don't want anyone to know you're still hoping. He recognized it because he'd done the exact same thing 3 minutes ago. She'd been stood up too. The coincidence felt almost absurd. Two strangers, same restaurant, same night, same disappointment. He shouldn't say anything. He knew that. She clearly wanted privacy. She was contained in a way that said, "Leave me alone." But there was something in her stillness that reminded him of Ben after a nightmare. The way his son held himself together through sheer force of will, terrified that if he relaxed for even a second, he'd shatter completely. Noah made a choice. Probably a stupid one. Possibly a kind one. He leaned toward her, kept his voice low, careful, like approaching something wounded. "Your blind date didn't show up either." She turned her head. Her eyes were guarded, intelligent, exhausted. For a second, he thought she'd freeze him out, tell him to mind his own business, prove that he'd been an idiot to speak. Then she answered, not with warmth, but with truth. Apparently not. And just like that, something in the air between them shifted. He didn't push, didn't try to charm her or fill the silence. He just let the acknowledgement sit there. This thing that was happening to both of them. This quiet humiliation neither of them deserved. A beat passed. She looked toward the door again. He watched her check. Watched her hope despite herself. He kept his voice gentle. First time getting stood up, her jaw tightened. He expected anger. Instead, she gave him honesty. Yes. He exhaled something that might have been a laugh if it wasn't so sad. First time in a long time for me. She studied him. Really looked at him. Not the way people usually looked at him, cataloging, dismissing, moving on. She looked at him like he was a puzzle she hadn't decided whether to solve. "Why tell me?" she asked. "Because you looked like I felt. And misery loves company. Or so they say." That's depressing. It's honest. Something flickered in her expression. Not quite a smile, but close. The server approached. Young woman. Dark hair pulled back. Name tag said Tessa. She had the careful neutrality of someone who'd waited tables long enough to recognize every kind of human disaster. "Can I get you two anything while you wait?" Noah looked at Claire. Claire looked at Noah. The question hung between them. Are we waiting? Are we still pretending? Noah made the decision. "Coffee, please." Tessa nodded, turned to Claire. Claire hesitated. She never drank coffee this late. It disrupted sleep. Sleep disrupted performance. Performance was everything. But sitting here alone felt like performance too. The wrong kind. "Same," she said. Tessa left. Noah and Claire sat in the new silence between them. Not quite strangers anymore. Not quite anything else either. Claire spoke first. Her voice was controlled, measured, but there was curiosity underneath. "Do you do this often? Talk to random women in restaurants?" "Never." "Why tonight?" "Because you looked like you needed someone to notice." The words landed harder than he intended. She flinched. Not visibly, just something in her eyes. "I don't need anything," she said. "Okay." She waited for him to argue. He didn't. That seemed to surprise her more than anything. "You're not going to tell me what I need?" she asked. "I don't know you." "Exactly. But I know what it feels like to sit somewhere and wonder if you're visible." She absorbed that. Turned it over. He could see her deciding whether to trust it. "Who didn't show?" he asked. "If you don't mind me asking." "A blind date. Arranged through an app." "Same." "First time." "Using the app, yes. Being disappointed by humans, no." She almost smiled, almost. "Why try it?" she asked. He thought about Ben's question. "Are you lonely?" He thought about Mrs. Klein and Mr. Klein and the way they still held hands after 40 years. He thought about his empty apartment and his burnt toast and the guitar gathering dust in the closet. "My kid asked me if I was lonely," he said. I realized I didn't know how to answer. Her expression shifted. Something softer. Something that might have been recognition. "You have a kid. 7, boy. He's with a neighbor tonight. And you left him to come here. I left him to try this. There's a difference." She studied him again, this time with something that looked like respect. "What's his name?" "Ben." "And your name?" He hesitated. Because names led to questions. Questions led to context. Context led to judgment. But she'd asked. And something about the way she asked made him want to answer. "Noah." She absorbed that. Then carefully, deliberately, she made her own choice. "Claire." They sat with that. 2 names. No last names. No job titles. No addresses or neighborhoods or contexts that would let them slot each other into categories. Just Noah and Claire. 2 people who'd shown up for something that hadn't happened and found something else instead. Tessa returned with coffee. Set it down. Steam rose. Neither of them touched it immediately. Noah wrapped his hands around the cup. The warmth felt good. Grounding. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "You can ask. Why did you agree to a blind date?" Claire's hands stayed flat on the table. Controlled. Like if she relaxed, something might escape. "I wanted to see if I could be normal for one night." "Normal how?" "Like this. Just a person, no resume, no expectations. Just someone having dinner." Noah heard the weight under those words. The loneliness that wasn't about being alone. It was about being seen only in pieces. Only the useful parts. Never the whole. He knew that feeling. He lived that feeling. "People only see one part of you," he said. She looked at him sharply. "What part do they see?" "The dad part. I love it. But sometimes I forget I was other things too." She held his gaze. "What things?" "A person. Someone who had interests and thoughts that didn't revolve around logistics. I used to play guitar. I used to stay up late reading. I used to have conversations that weren't about schedules." "What happened?" "Life. Responsibility, my ex-wife." He said it matter-of-factly. No bitterness. Just statement. "She left 3 years ago. Decided she didn't want to do this anymore. This, us, me and Ben, the whole package." Claire's expression tightened. Not pity. Something sharper. Anger on his behalf. That must have been devastating. It was. Then it wasn't. Now it's just the truth I live with. "Do you hate her?" "No. I just wish she'd figured it out before Ben. Kids remember everything." Claire nodded slowly, like she was filing that away. They drank coffee. The room moved around them. Other people's conversations. Other people's lives. Normal Friday night things. But here at this small table, something else was happening. Something neither of them had planned. Claire set her cup down, looked at him directly. "I eat dinner alone at my desk with my laptop open. I tell myself it's ambition. But really, I don't remember how to do it another way." The confession hung between them. Vulnerable. Real. The kind of truth you don't tell strangers. Except they weren't quite strangers anymore. Noah didn't pity her. Didn't try to fix it. He just accepted it. "You're doing it now," he said gently. "Doing what?" "Eating. Not alone." He gestured at the space between them. No agenda, just this. She looked down at her coffee. At the table. At the reality of the moment. When she looked back up, something in her face had cracked open. Not broken, just open. "I don't know how to do this," she whispered. "Do what?" "Be with someone who doesn't want something from me." Noah felt the weight of that, the loneliness that came from being valued only for what you provided, never for who you were. "I don't want anything from you," he said. "Everyone wants something." "I wanted coffee. and maybe conversation, but I don't need anything from you, and that's different." She stared at him like he'd said something in a foreign language she almost recognized. The moment stretched. Around them, the restaurant lived its life. But here time felt different. Slower, more intentional. Claire made a decision. He could see it happen. Something shifting in her expression. "Can we make a rule?" she asked. "What kind of rule? No last names, no jobs, no neighborhoods, just tonight, just this." She expected resistance, expected questions. Instead, Noah smiled, real, warm, relieved. Deal. And in that single word they created something. A boundary, a protection. A small pocket of space where they could be people instead of resumes. Where they could be Noah and Claire. Nothing more, nothing less. That's all either of them wanted anyway. The coffee cooled between them while the world outside the window turned darker. Claire found herself watching Noah's hands. Not in the way she usually observed people cataloging tells and weaknesses for future leverage. This was different. Quieter. She noticed the calluses on his palms when he shifted his cup. The way his fingers wrapped around the ceramic like he was grateful for the warmth. Working hands. Honest hands. Hands that built things instead of dismantling them. Her own hands were smooth. Manicured weekly by someone whose name she could never remember. She paid for perfection and received it without question. Looking at them now, they seemed almost obscene, decorative, useless. Noah noticed her noticing. "You have a tell," he said softly. She stiffened. "Excuse me. When I spoke just now, you looked like you were calculating the perfect minute to leave." Claire felt exposed, then strangely relieved. Because he was right. She had been doing exactly that. Running probability assessments in her head. Exit strategies, how to extract herself gracefully before this got complicated. "I don't like being somewhere I'm not supposed to be," she said. "And where are you supposed to be?" The question landed like a diagnosis. Claire opened her mouth. The answer should have been immediate. Obvious. She was supposed to be at her desk, in a meeting. On a conference call with Tokyo. Reviewing contracts. Making decisions. Being essential. But the words wouldn't come. Because tonight, in this restaurant, with this stranger who asked careful questions, she didn't know where she was supposed to be. And that not knowing felt less like confusion and more like possibility. "I used to know," she said quietly. "Lately I don't." Noah didn't rush to fill the silence. He just sat with it. Let her words exist without trying to fix them or redirect them or extract value from them. That restraint was so foreign to Claire it almost hurt. "Me too," he finally said. 2 words. But they carried weight. The weight of someone who understood that not all problems had solutions. That sometimes the bravest thing you could do was admit you were lost. Claire felt something shift in her chest. Not attraction, exactly. Something deeper. Recognition. The kind you feel when you meet someone who speaks your language in a country where you've been mute for years. "Tell me about him," she said. "Your son." Noah's whole face changed. The exhaustion didn't disappear, but it softened. Made room for something else. Love. The uncomplicated kind that didn't need justification. Ben. He said the name like a prayer. "He's 7, too smart for his own good. Asks questions that make me question everything." "Like what?" "This morning, he asked if I was lonely." Claire's breath caught. "What did you say?" "I told him no, that I had him. He said it wasn't the same." "He's right." Noah looked at her sharply, not defensive, curious. "You think so?" "I think..." Claire chose her words carefully. "That children see things adults have learned to ignore. They notice when the people they love are just going through motions, when they're performing life instead of living it." Noah absorbed that. His expression suggested she'd articulated something he'd been feeling but couldn't name. "His mother left 3 years ago," Noah said. "Just packed her things while he was at preschool. Left a note. Said she couldn't do this anymore. This, us, Our life, being a mother, being a wife, all of it. Claire felt anger rise in her throat. Clean and sharp. She abandoned you both. She made a choice. A cruel one, maybe. Or maybe she was just honest about something most people lie about. Not everyone is built for the long haul. She wasn't, at least she admitted it. Claire studied him, looking for bitterness, resentment, the kind of damage that turned people hard. She found none of it. You don't hate her, she said. It wasn't a question. I don't. I'm angry sometimes, sad for Ben, but hate takes energy I don't have, and it wouldn't change anything. That's very evolved of you. It's survival. If I spent my time hating her, I wouldn't have time for Ben, and he needs me present, not bitter. Claire felt something crack open inside her. A door she'd kept locked for so long she'd forgotten it could open. You love him very much, she said. More than I knew I could love anything. And yet you're here, on a Friday night, with a stranger. Noah met her eyes. Because he asked if I was lonely, and I realized that even though I love him more than breathing, he can't be the only thing in my life. That's not fair to him. He shouldn't have to carry the weight of being my whole world. Claire understood that in a way that made her throat tight. So you downloaded an app. So I downloaded an app. Felt like an idiot doing it. Felt more like an idiot coming here, but I showed up anyway. And got stood up. And got stood up. He smiled. It was sad and real, and somehow still warm. But I met you. So maybe it wasn't a complete disaster. Claire wanted to deflect, to make a joke, to protect herself from the sincerity in his voice. Instead, she told the truth. I almost didn't come. I stood in my closet for 20 minutes trying to find something that didn't scream who I am. Because I wanted one night where someone looked at me and didn't see an asset or an opportunity or a problem to solve. What did you want them to see? Just me, whatever that is. Noah leaned back slightly, not retreating, just giving her space to be seen the way she wanted. I see someone who's tired of performing, he said. Someone who came here hoping for something real and got disappointed before she even had a chance to try. That obvious? Only because I'm the same. The server appeared. Tessa. She had the efficient kindness of someone who knew when to interrupt and when to disappear. Can I get you two anything else? Dinner, maybe? Claire and Noah looked at each other. The question wasn't about food. It was about commitment. About whether this accidental connection was worth extending past the safety of coffee. I'm hungry, Noah said. Not to Tessa, to Claire, like he was asking permission. Claire should say no. Should thank him for the conversation and go home to her empty penthouse and her glowing laptop and the life she'd built that required nothing from anyone. So am I, she heard herself say. Tessa smiled, left menus, disappeared again. Claire picked up the menu, put it down, picked it up again. She couldn't focus on the words. Her heart was doing something complicated in her chest, something that felt like fear and excitement braided together. You okay? Noah asked. I don't do this. Eat dinner. Connect with strangers. We're not strangers anymore. We're Noah and Claire, two people who got stood up and decided to stay anyway. She looked at him. Really looked. At the lines around his eyes that came from smiling and worrying in equal measure. At the worn collar of his shirt that said he chose function over fashion. At the way he held himself like someone who'd been knocked down and gotten back up so many times it had become reflex. Why aren't you angry? She asked suddenly. About what? About her. About being stood up. About any of it. Noah considered that. I used to be angry. About everything. My ex leaving, being a single dad, having a life that didn't match the one I thought I'd have. But anger is exhausting, and it doesn't change anything. So I decided to just show up for Ben, for work, for whatever comes next. That sounds lonely. It is, but it's honest. Claire felt tears threaten. She never cried. Crying was inefficient. Crying gave people leverage. But something about the way Noah spoke about the quiet dignity in his exhaustion made her want to weep for both of them. For all the years they'd spent just surviving, just showing up, just going through the motions of lives that looked full from the outside and felt empty from within. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "For what? That she left. That Ben had to lose his mother. That you had to become everything for him." Noah's expression gentled. "Don't be sorry. He's the best thing I ever made. Even when it's hard, he's worth it. But you're still lonely." "Yeah, I am." They sat with that truth. Not trying to fix it. Not trying to silver line it. Just letting it exist in the space between them. Tessa returned. They ordered. Claire chose something simple. Noah did the same. Like they were both too emotionally full to make complex decisions about food. When Tessa left, Noah shifted in his seat. "Can I ask you something personal?" "You can ask. Why hide who you are? The fake name thing. The rules about no jobs, no context. What are you protecting yourself from?" Claire's first instinct was to shut down, to deflect, to change the subject with the skill she'd honed in 1,000 boardrooms. But Noah wasn't asking to extract information. He was asking because he wanted to understand her. The difference mattered. "I'm protecting myself from being wanted for the wrong reasons," she said. "What are the wrong reasons? Money, access, power, proximity to something I built that people assume they can use." Noah frowned. "You're successful." It wasn't a question, just an observation. "Very. And that makes you a target. It makes me a resource. People don't see me. They see what I can do for them, what doors I can open, what problems I can solve. And when you're only valuable for what you provide, you start wondering if anyone would want you without it." Noah absorbed that. She watched him process, saw the moment understanding clicked. "So you created a version of yourself that had nothing to offer, just to see if someone would still show up." "Yes, and they didn't." No, they didn't. The failure of it hung between them. But it wasn't just her failure. It was shared now, because he'd done the same thing, created a profile that was just him, stripped of context. And he'd been abandoned too. "People are idiots," Noah said flatly. Claire laughed. Actual laughter. It surprised her. It had been so long since something genuinely funny had broken through her control. "Present company excluded?" she asked. "Present company is here by accident, so maybe we're the biggest idiots of all. Or maybe we're the only smart ones." Noah smiled. "How do you figure?" "We showed up. That takes courage. Stupidity would be staying home where it's safe." "Is your home safe?" The question caught her off guard. "Physically, yes. Emotionally," she trailed off. "It's empty. Beautiful and empty. Like a museum. I walk through it and feel like I'm trespassing in my own life." Noah nodded slowly. "My apartment is small, cramped. The heat doesn't work right. But Ben's there, his drawings on the fridge, his shoes by the door. It's not empty, but it's still lonely, because he's your son, not your partner." "Exactly." Food arrived. They ate slowly. Not because they were savoring it, but because eating gave their hands something to do while their hearts worked through harder things. Claire watched Noah cut his chicken. Methodical, efficient. The way someone eats when they've learned to fuel the body without thinking about pleasure. "When did you stop enjoying food?" she asked. He looked up, startled. "What?" "You eat like it's a task. Like you're checking a box." Noah set down his fork. Looked at his plate like it had betrayed him. "I don't know. Somewhere between making school lunches and eating alone at midnight after Ben's asleep. Food became fuel, not joy." "Same," Claire said. "I eat at my desk, order from the same 3 places, don't taste any of it. It's just necessary." "That's depressing." "It is." They looked at each other, then at their plates, then back at each other. "Should we try to enjoy this?" Noah asked. "I don't know how anymore." "Me neither. But maybe we could try together." So they did. They ate slowly, commented on flavors. Noah said the chicken was overcooked, but the vegetables were good. Claire said her pasta was too salty, but she liked the bread. It was the most attention either of them had paid to a meal in years. Somewhere in the middle of dinner, Claire asked, "What did you want to be when you grew up?" Noah laughed. Serious question. Serious question. "A musician. I played guitar, wrote songs, thought I'd be the next whoever. Had this whole fantasy of touring and making art and mattering. What happened? Reality. Bills. Responsibility. I needed a job with benefits and stability. Music doesn't pay for pediatrician visits. Do you still play?" Noah's expression clouded. "The guitar is in my closet. I look at it sometimes, but I can't remember the last time I picked it up." "Why not?" "Because if I play, I remember who I used to be. And that person feels like a stranger now. Someone who had time and hope and the luxury of thinking art mattered more than survival." Claire felt the weight of that. The way life hollowed out dreams and replaced them with obligations. "I wanted to be a teacher," she said quietly. Noah's eyebrows rose. "Really?" "High school. English literature. I loved words, loved watching people discover what stories could do. I thought I'd spend my life showing kids that books were doorways to bigger worlds. What happened? My father died, left me his company. I was 25. I could have sold it, should have, probably, but I was angry and grieving and determined to prove I could do what he did. So I took over, and I was good at it. Better than good. And somewhere in the process of proving myself, I forgot I'd wanted to do anything else. Do you regret it?" Claire thought about that. About the empire she'd built, the lives she'd changed, the power she wielded. "I don't know. I did something that mattered, but I'm not sure it was the kind of mattering I actually wanted." Noah reached across the table, not grabbing her hand, just placing his near hers, close enough to feel the warmth, far enough to give her choice. "For what it's worth," he said, "I think you'd have been a great teacher." "Why?" "Because you listen, really listen. Most people hear words and wait for their turn to talk. You hear words and actually think about them." Claire felt something break loose in her chest, something that had been frozen for so long she'd forgotten it could thaw. "Thank you," she whispered. They finished eating. Tessa cleared their plates, offered dessert. They declined. The restaurant was quieter now. Late diners had thinned out. The candle on their table had burned low. Claire should leave. She knew that. This had already gone longer than she'd planned. She had calls in the morning, meetings, decisions that couldn't wait, but she didn't move. Neither did Noah. "Tell me something true," he said suddenly. "What?" "Something true. Something you don't usually say out loud." Claire's heart hammered. "Why?" "Because I've spent 3 years having conversations about lunch boxes and permission slips. I miss talking to someone who tells me real things." She could refuse. She could smile and deflect and keep herself protected. Instead, she took the leap. "I'm terrified that I'm unlovable," she said. "Not because of who I am, but because I've become someone who doesn't know to be loved. I've optimized myself for success and efficiency and somehow lost the parts that make connection possible." Noah didn't flinch, didn't look away, didn't try to convince her she was wrong. "I'm terrified Ben will grow up and realize I wasn't enough," he said. "That giving him everything I had wasn't the same as giving him everything he needed. That he'll look back and see a father who tried, but ultimately failed to fill the hole his mother left." They stared at each other. Two people who'd just handed over their softest parts and waited to see if the other would hurt them with the knowledge. Neither did. "You're not unlovable," Noah said. "You're just scared. There's a difference." "You're more than enough," Claire said. "Ben asked if you were lonely because he loves you enough to notice. That's not failure. That's connection." Something passed between them. Not romance, not lust, something quieter and more dangerous. Understanding. The kind that made you realize you weren't alone in your particular brand of brokenness. Noah checked his phone, wince. It's late, I should get back. Mrs. Klein is probably asleep in front of the TV. Claire nodded. The spell was breaking. Reality was seeping back in. They asked for the check, argued briefly about splitting it. Noah won by pointing out she'd already made enough decisions for one day. They walked outside together. The Chicago wind hit them like a wall. Claire wrapped her arms around herself. She'd forgotten a heavier coat. Too focused on appearing normal to think about practical things like weather. Noah noticed, started to offer his jacket, stopped himself. You'd refuse, he said. Yes, because accepting would mean needing something. Yes, that must be exhausting. It is. They stood on the sidewalk. Other people passed. Cars moved. The city lived around them. But here in this small pocket of space-time felt suspended. Can I ask you something? Claire said. Sure. Why me? When you saw me sitting there, you could have left. Could have stayed silent. Why say something? Noah thought about that. Because you looked like I felt, and I guess I wanted to know if someone else was carrying the same weight. If maybe it wasn't just me. It's not just you. I know that now. They stood there. Neither moving toward goodbye. Neither quite ready to let this end. I'd like to do this again, Noah said carefully. If you want. Claire's every instinct screamed danger. This was how it started. Connection led to need. Need led to vulnerability. Vulnerability led to pain. But standing here with the wind cutting through, and this gentle man looking at her like she was a person instead of a portfolio, she couldn't make herself retreat. I'd like that too, she said. Noah smiled, real, unguarded. The kind of smile that made the exhaustion in his eyes disappear for a moment. Tomorrow, he asked. Tomorrow. Same place. Same place. They exchanged numbers. Noah typed hers into his phone with cold fingers. Claire did the same. I'll text you, he said. So you have mine too. Okay. And Claire, yeah, thank you for staying, for talking, for being honest. I forgot what that felt like. Claire felt her throat tighten. Me too. They stood there one more moment. Then Noah turned and walked toward the train. Claire watched him go. Watched him disappear into the crowd. Then she stood on the empty sidewalk and let herself feel something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Dangerous, fragile, terrifying hope. She pulled out her phone to call a car. It buzzed before she could. A text from an unknown number. Made it to the train. Thank you for tonight. Get home safe. She stared at the message, such simple words. But underneath them, something that mattered. Someone caring if she got home safe. Someone thinking about her after they'd said goodbye. Someone who'd met her at her most vulnerable and hadn't tried to exploit it. She texted back, home soon, unexpected, in a good way. His response came quickly. Unexpected is good. I could use more of that. She smiled. Actually smiled. Standing alone on a Chicago sidewalk at 10 o'clock on a Friday night, smiling at her phone like a teenager. Another text. Ben asked why I was smiling when I walked in. I told him I met someone interesting. He said that was good, that I needed more interesting. Claire laughed. Smart kid. Too smart. He sees everything. That's not a bad thing. No, it's not. She got into the car when it arrived. Gave the driver her address. Watched the city move past the windows. Her phone buzzed again. Good night, Claire. She typed back. Good night, Noah. Then she sat back and let herself feel it. All of it. The fear and the hope and the strange lightness that came from being seen. When she got home, the penthouse was exactly as she'd left it. Dark, cold, empty. But somehow it felt different. Less like a museum. More like a place she was just passing through, on her way to somewhere else. She didn't open her laptop. Didn't check her email. Didn't fall into the patterns that had defined her life for 15 years. Instead, she made tea. Sat by the window. Looked at the city lights. And thought about a man with calloused hands and a gentle voice who'd asked her to tell him something true. She'd told him she was terrified of being unlovable. He hadn't tried to fix it. He'd just sat with her in it. That mattered more than she could articulate. Her phone buzzed one more time. "Thank you for tonight. I forgot what it feels like to talk to someone who actually listens." Claire stared at the message. Because she hadn't done anything extraordinary. She'd just listened, just been present, just shown up, and somehow that was enough. She typed back, "Same." Then she set the phone down and let herself sit in the quiet. Not the lonely quiet of before. A different kind. The kind that felt less like isolation and more like anticipation. Because tomorrow was coming, and tomorrow she'd see him again. That thought carried her through the night. The next morning arrived with the kind of light that made Chicago look almost forgiving. Claire woke before her alarm, which never happened. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her phone on the nightstand, feeling something she couldn't quite name. It wasn't happiness exactly. More like the absence of the low-grade dread that usually accompanied waking up. The sense that today might contain something other than obligation. She checked her messages. One from Noah sent at 6:30. "Good morning. Thank you for last night. I forgot what it feels like to talk to someone who actually listens." Claire read it 3 times. Each time her chest did something complicated. Because she'd been thanked before. Thanked for deals, for decisions, for solving problems. But never for listening. Never for just being present. She typed back, "Good morning. Thank you for seeing me." Then she deleted it. Too vulnerable. Tried again. "Good morning. Looking forward to tonight." Better. Honest but protected. His response came quickly. "Me too. 700. She got up, showered. The routine was the same, but something in her moved differently. Less mechanical. More aware. Mara arrived at 7 with the leather folio and her usual efficiency. But today she stopped in the doorway of Claire's office and just stared. "What?" Claire asked. "You're smiling." Claire touched her face like she could feel the expression. "I am not. You were when I walked in. You were looking at your phone and smiling." Claire set the phone face down, defensive. "I was reading an email." "From who?" "That's not relevant to this morning's agenda." Mara crossed her arms. She had the protective instinct of someone who'd watched Claire survive a dozen corporate battles and knew when a new threat was emerging. "You left early yesterday. You're smiling at your phone. You're wearing different perfume." "I'm not wearing perfume." "Exactly. You always wear perfume. The fact that you're not means you forgot. And you never forget." Claire felt exposed, seen in a way that made her want to hide. "I have a life outside this office. Do you?" The question wasn't cruel, just honest. And honest was worse because it was true. Claire had spent 15 years building a life that revolved entirely around work. The few friends she had were professional contacts. Her family consisted of quarterly dinners with her mother where they discussed charitable foundations and estate planning. Her hobbies included reading industry reports and attending networking events. This thing with Noah, whatever it was, existed outside all of that. In a space Mara couldn't catalog or control. "I'm fine," Claire said. "Let's review the Tokyo call." Mara didn't move. "If something is happening, I need to know. For risk management." "Nothing is happening." "Then why are you different?" Claire met her eyes. "Maybe I'm tired of being the same." That landed. Mara absorbed it, then nodded slowly like she was recalculating. "Okay, but if this becomes something that affects the company, you'll tell me." "It won't." "You can't promise that." "I can, because it's personal. And personal doesn't touch professional." Even as she said it, Claire knew it wasn't true. Everything touched everything. But she needed the boundary. Needed this one thing to belong only to her. Mara left. Claire tried to focus on work. Managed about 40% efficiency, which for her was catastrophic. She kept checking her phone. Noah sent a photo at noon. Ben's drawing. Stick figures holding hands under a crooked sun. The text said, "He drew this at breakfast. Asked if I was happy. I said yes. He said good. That I should be happy more." Claire stared at the drawing. Such simple lines. Such uncomplicated hope. A child's vision of what happiness looked like. She typed back, "He's right," then added, "You should be happy more." Noah's response, "Working on it." The day crawled. Meetings blurred together. She made decisions that affected millions of dollars with the same distracted energy most people brought to choosing lunch. At 5, she left. Early, unheard of. Mara watched her go with an expression that was equal parts concern and suspicion. Claire went home. Changed. This time, she didn't agonize over the outfit. Just jeans, a sweater, the same flat boots. She pulled her hair back, looked at herself in the mirror, and recognized someone she'd almost forgotten. A woman going to meet someone who mattered. The cab ride felt eternal. Traffic moved like sludge. She checked the time compulsively. 6:45, 6:53, 6:58. She arrived at 6:59, walked in, scanned the restaurant. Noah was already there. Center table. Visible. Choosing visibility again. He stood when he saw her. Not because of some outdated chivalry, because she mattered enough to stand for. "Hi," he said. "Hi." They sat. The server appeared almost immediately. Tessa again. She smiled like she recognized them, which she probably did. Two people who'd started as strangers and come back as something else. "Coffee?" she asked. They both nodded. Tessa left. Noah and Claire looked at each other across the small table. The candlelight caught his face differently tonight. Less exhausted, more present. "You came back," he said. "So did you." "I almost didn't." Claire's stomach dropped. "Why?" "Because last night felt important. And important things usually disappoint me. I thought maybe if I stayed home I could keep it perfect in my head. Just a good memory, nothing to ruin it." "What changed your mind?" "Ben. He asked if I was going to see you again. I said maybe. He said I should. That I seemed lighter when I got home." Claire felt something warm spread through her chest. "A 7-year-old gave you dating advice." "Best advice I've gotten in years." They smiled. Real smiles. The kind that acknowledged the absurdity and beauty of the situation in equal measure. Coffee arrived. They wrapped their hands around the cups. The ritual felt grounding. Familiar already. "Tell me about your day," Noah said. Such a simple question. The kind people asked without thinking. But Claire couldn't remember the last time someone had asked her that and actually wanted to hear the answer. "My chief of staff noticed I was different," she said. "Called me out for smiling at my phone." "Were you?" "Apparently." "Was it my text?" Claire hesitated, then chose honesty. "Yes." Noah's expression softened. "Good. I was nervous sending it. Didn't want to seem too eager." "You can be eager. I don't mind eager." "I'll remember that." They ordered food. Fell into conversation the way they had the night before. Easy, natural. Like they'd been doing this for years instead of hours. Noah told her about work. Fixing lights in a parking garage. His coworker Danny, who kept trying to set him up. The way the city felt different at 5 in the morning when he started his shift. Claire told him about meetings that felt endless. Decisions that mattered but didn't feel meaningful. The way her office had a view she never looked at. "Why not?" Noah asked. "Because looking at it means acknowledging I'm alone in a room designed for one. And that feels too honest. Maybe honest is what you need. Maybe, but it's uncomfortable. The best things usually are." They ate. The food tasted better tonight. Maybe because they were actually paying attention. Maybe because sharing a meal with someone who saw you made everything taste different. Halfway through dinner, Noah's phone buzzed on the table. Face up. He glanced at it. His whole body changed. Relaxed to rigid in one heartbeat. Claire watched it happen. Watched the way his jaw tightened. The way his hand moved toward the phone, then hesitated. The name on the screen, Mrs. Klein. "I have to take this," he said, voice tight with apology and panic in equal measure. "Of course," he answered. "Hey, what's wrong?" Claire couldn't hear the other side, but she could read Noah's face, could see the exact moment concern turned to fear. When? Pause. How bad? Pause. Okay, I'm coming. I'm coming right now. He ended the call. Looked at Claire like he hated everything about this moment. Ben woke up. Bad dream. He's asking for me. Claire's nervous system responded before her brain could intervene. Abandonment again. Always. The pattern that defined her life. People leaving. People choosing something else. People proving that she was never quite enough to stay for. She forced her face into neutral, forced her voice into calm. Of course, go. Noah stood. Grabbed his jacket. But he didn't leave. Not immediately. He stood there, phone in hand, looking at her like he was trying to memorize proof that this had been real. I didn't want this to end like another no-show, he said. The words hit her sideways. Because he was acknowledging it. The parallel, the pattern. The way this moment could erase everything they'd built. Nothing lasts, Claire said. She meant it to sound philosophical. It came out bitter. Noah heard it. Heard what she wasn't saying. The history underneath the words. He made a decision. Unlocked his phone, held it out to her. I know this breaks your rules, he said. But I'd like to see you again, if you want. So I need you to put your number in here so I can text you, so you know I'm not disappearing. Claire stared at the phone. Every instinct screamed, protect yourself. This was how it happened. You gave someone access, they used it against you. Or worse, they didn't use it at all. They just kept it like insurance they never intended to claim. But she thought about last night. About the way he'd listened when she'd told him her fear. About the text this morning thanking her for something she'd thought was worthless. She took the phone. Typed her number with shaking fingers. No last name, just Claire. She handed it back. Text me, she said, barely audible. So I have yours too. Noah's face transformed. Gratitude and relief and something else, something that looked like hope. I will, I promise. He left. Fast. Not because he wanted to leave her, because being a father wasn't optional, wasn't something you could negotiate or delay. It was absolute. Claire watched him go. Watched the door close behind him. Felt the familiar cold settle back into her bones. She was alone again. At a table set for two, with half-finished meals and cold coffee and the echo of something that might have been. Tessa appeared. Careful. Can I get you anything? The check, please. He already paid, before you got here. Claire felt something crack in her chest. Because that was planning. That was thinking ahead. That was someone who'd known he might have to leave and wanted to make sure she wasn't left with logistics to manage. Someone who'd thought about her before she'd even arrived. Thank you, Claire whispered. She left. Stood outside in the cold. The wind cut through her sweater like punishment. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Made it to the train. Ben's okay. Bad dream about his mom. He just needed to know I'm here. I'm so sorry I had to leave. Can we try again? Claire stared at the message. At the apology. At the question that wasn't demanding anything. Just asking. Just hoping. She could ignore it. Could let this fade the way things always faded. Could retreat back into her fortress and pretend she'd never tried. Or, she typed, don't apologize, is Ben okay? The response came fast. Getting there. He's asking questions I don't know how to answer. Like what? Why his mom left? If it was his fault, if I'll leave too? Claire's heart broke, clean through. Because she knew those questions. Had asked them herself in different forms. About her father, about every person who'd valued her utility over her humanity. It wasn't his fault, she typed. And you won't leave, he knows that. I hope so. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for texting. A pause. Then, I meant it, about seeing you again. This wasn't how I wanted tonight to end. Claire stood on the sidewalk, cold wind cutting through her phone in her hand, feeling something she'd forgotten was possible. Someone fighting for the connection instead of using the exit she'd given them. Tomorrow, she typed. I can't tomorrow. Ben needs me home. Sunday. Sunday works. Same place, same time. Yes. Another pause, longer this time, then Claire, yeah. Thank you for not being angry, for understanding that he comes first. Not everyone would. Claire felt tears threaten, because she understood more than he knew. Understood what it meant to be someone's whole world, to carry that weight with grace, to show up even when it cost everything. He should come first, she typed. That's what love looks like. She could almost feel his smile through the phone. Good night, Claire. Good night, Noah. She got a car, went home. The penthouse felt different tonight. Still empty, but less like a punishment, more like a pause between acts. She made tea, sat by the window, watched the city lights blur through glass. Her phone buzzed. A photo. Ben asleep curled around a stuffed dinosaur. The caption, safe now. Thank you for tonight. Even the abbreviated version. Claire smiled, saved the photo, then typed back, he's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have him. Then a moment later, and lucky I met you. Claire held the phone against her chest, let herself feel it. The dangerous warmth of being seen, being wanted, being worth texting even when life got complicated. Saturday passed in a fog. She tried to work, managed surface-level tasks, kept checking her phone even though Noah had said he'd be with Ben. He texted once. Midday. At the Science Museum. Ben is explaining dinosaurs to me like I've never heard of them. I love him so much it's terrifying. Claire responded, that's the best kind of love. Is it? Yes, the kind that scares you. That means it matters. Do you have that? Claire stared at the question. Did she? She had her company, her work, the thing she'd built that consumed everything. But love. The kind that terrified you because losing it would hollow you out. No, she'd made sure of it. Not yet, she typed. Maybe someday. I hope you find it. Me too. Sunday morning, Claire woke to a text sent at 6. Ben asked if I was seeing you today. I said yes. He said you must be nice if I'm smiling this much. He's not wrong. Claire read it twice, 3 times. Let the words settle into her bones. A child she'd never met was noticing his father's happiness and connecting it to her. That felt like responsibility, like weight, like something that could shatter if she wasn't careful. She typed back, what did you tell him about me? That you're smart and kind, and that you listen when people talk. He said those are good things. Then he asked if you like dinosaurs. Do I need to like dinosaurs? It helps. He judges people based on their dinosaur opinions. What's the right opinion? Velociraptors are underrated. T-Rex gets too much credit. Claire laughed. Actually laughed. Sitting alone in her penthouse at 7 in the morning, laughing at dinosaur discourse. I'll remember that. Good, he might interrogate you someday. The word hung there. Someday, implying future, implying this wasn't just coffee and confessions. This was building toward something. Claire's hands shook typing her response. I'd like that. The day stretched. She showered, changed. Realized she was putting too much thought into an outfit for the 3rd time in 3 days. Mara called at noon. Board meeting moved to Monday morning, 9 a.m. I need you prepared. I'll be ready. Will you? What does that mean? It means you've been distracted. It means I need to know you're present for this. It matters. Claire felt the old guilt rise, the sense that wanting anything outside work was betrayal, selfishness, proof she wasn't committed. But then she thought about Noah, about the way he'd left dinner to take care of his son without apology, about how being fully present for Ben didn't make him less of a person. It made him more. I'll be present, she said. I promise. Good. Mara hung up. Claire stood in her closet, looking at clothes that cost thousands of dollars, and felt the walls of her old life pressing in. She could cancel tonight, could focus on the board meeting, could prove to Mara and herself that work still came first, or she could go. Could choose this one thing for herself, could show up for something that had nothing to do with profit margins or quarterly reports. She chose the sweater, the jeans, the flat boots. She chose Noah. The restaurant was becoming familiar. She walked in at 6:55. Noah was there, same table. This time he was reading something on his phone, smiling slightly. He looked up when she entered. The smile widened. He stood. She crossed to him. They didn't hug, didn't touch, just stood there close enough to feel the gravity between them. "Hi," he said. "Hi." They sat. Tessa appeared like magic. "Coffee, please," they said in unison. Tessa grinned, laughed. "How's Ben?" Claire asked. "Good. The nightmare passed. We talked about his mom, about how people leave sometimes, but it's not about the people they leave behind. It's about their own stuff. That's very wise. I stole it from a parenting book." Still wise. Noah leaned forward. "He asked about you again this morning." "What did he ask?" "If you were my girlfriend." Claire's breath caught. "What did you say?" "I said you were someone I was getting to know. Someone I liked very much." He said that was a start. A start toward what? He didn't specify, but I think he's hopeful I might be happy. Really happy. Not just pretending for his sake. Claire felt the weight of that. A child hoping his father could have joy, could have a life beyond survival. "Are you," she asked softly, "happy?" Noah considered the question, really considered it. "I'm something," he said. "I don't know if it's happy yet, but it's different. Better. Like maybe there's a version of my life that includes more than just getting through." "I feel that too." Yeah. Like maybe I could be someone other than my job. Someone who has coffee on Sunday nights and talks about dinosaurs and remembers what it feels like to look forward to something." Noah smiled. "Is that what this is? Something to look forward to?" "Yes." "Good. Because I spent all of Saturday thinking about tonight. Ben noticed, said I was distracted. I told him I was thinking about a friend." "Is that what I am, a friend?" "I don't know what you are yet, but friend feels like a place to start." They ordered dinner. Fell into the rhythm that was becoming theirs. Questions and answers, laughter and silence. The easy flow of two people learning each other's languages. Halfway through the meal, Noah's expression shifted. Serious. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. "Always." "I'm scared." "Of what?" "This. You. The way I feel when I'm here. Because it's been 3 years since I let myself want something that wasn't about Ben. And wanting things is dangerous. Wanting things means you can lose them." Claire reached across the table, placed her hand near his. Not touching, just close. "I'm scared too," she said, "because I've spent 15 years building walls, and you're making me want to take them down, and I don't know what's on the other side if I do. Maybe we find out together. Maybe." They sat with that, with the fear and the possibility braided together. Then Noah's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned. "What?" Claire asked. "Nothing, just my coworker. Sent me some news article." "About what?" Noah hesitated, showed her the screen. It was a business article. Photo of a woman at a charity gala. Headline about a major acquisition. The woman in the photo looked like Claire. Same face, different clothes, different context, but unmistakably her. Harrington Capital CEO Claire Harrington announces expansion into European markets. Claire's blood went cold. Noah looked at the photo, looked at her. His expression didn't change, just quiet realization. "You're a CEO," he said. Not a question, a statement. Claire couldn't breathe. This was it, the moment where everything shattered, where he realized who she was and what that meant and decided it was too much. Too complicated, too far outside his world. "Yes," she whispered. Noah set the phone down, looked at her directly. "Is that why you didn't want to share last names? Why you wanted to be just Claire?" "Yes, because people want things from you. Always." He nodded slowly, processing. "I don't want anything from you," he said finally. "Except more nights like this, where we're just Noah and Claire, two people having dinner. Nothing else. Claire felt tears threaten. You're not angry I didn't tell you. Why would I be angry you were protecting yourself? That makes sense. Most people would feel lied to. You didn't lie, you just didn't tell me things that don't matter. They matter to some people. I'm not some people. Claire let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Your company is worth billions, Noah said. You're probably one of the most powerful women in Chicago, and you sat in this restaurant alone getting stood up like anyone else. Money doesn't make you less lonely. No, I guess it doesn't. They looked at each other. The truth between them now. The full truth. Who they were in the outside world. But here at this table those identities felt distant. Less real than the coffee cups and the half-finished plates and the candle burning low between them. Does this change things? Claire asked. Barely audible. Noah thought about it. Really thought. Only if you want it to, he said. Because, to me, you're still just Claire. The woman who eats alone at her desk and forgot how to enjoy food. The woman who's scared of being wanted for the wrong reasons. That's who I'm here for. Not some CEO in a business article. Claire felt something break open in her chest. Something that had been locked so tight she'd forgotten it could move. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For seeing me. The real me, not the useful parts. Just me. Noah smiled. Sad and warm and real. That's all I've ever wanted to see. They finished dinner. Tessa cleared their plates. The restaurant was quieting now. Late Sunday evening. Most people were home preparing for Monday. For work, for the real world that waited outside this small pocket of space. But Claire and Noah stayed, ordered coffee, talked until the staff started stacking chairs. Finally, reluctantly, they stood to leave. Outside, the wind was gentler tonight. Or maybe Claire was just warmer. They walked together toward the corner. Not touching, just present. Sunday again, Noah asked. I'd like that. Same time. Yes. They stood on the corner. Cars passed. Other people lived other lives. But here time felt suspended. Claire, Noah said. Yeah? I'm glad your blind date didn't show up. Claire smiled. Me too. They said goodnight. Went separate directions. Claire walked to her car, got in, sat in the dark. Her phone buzzed. Home safe. Thank you for tonight. Thank you for trusting me with the truth. She typed back, thank you for staying. Always. That single word carried weight. Promise. Commitment. The kind of always that meant something. Claire drove home. The penthouse waited. Empty, cold, exactly as she'd left it. But tonight it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like an intermission, because Sunday was coming, and with it Noah. And maybe, just maybe, something that looked like a future she hadn't planned for, but desperately wanted. Monday morning arrived with the weight of consequence. Claire woke at 5:30 to 17 missed calls from Mara. She sat up, heart hammering, and dialed back. Mara answered on the first ring. Where were you last night? Home. Your phone was off. I turned it off. Silence. The kind that meant Mara was recalculating everything she thought she knew. You never turn your phone off, Mara said carefully. I do now. Claire, the board meeting is in 3 hours. I sent you the briefing materials at 8 last night. You haven't opened them. Claire looked at her laptop closed on the nightstand. Untouched since Friday. I'll read them now. That's not the point. Then what is the point? The point is you're changing. And change in your position is risk. And I need to understand what kind of risk we're managing. Claire felt something harden in her chest. The old defense mechanisms activating. The walls rebuilding. I'm the same person I was last week. No, you're not. Last week, you would have read those materials before I sent them. You would have called me with questions. You would have been 3 steps ahead. This week, you're distracted. And distraction in your position costs millions. The words landed like stones. Because Mara wasn't wrong. Claire had spent 15 years being 3 steps ahead. being the person who never missed details, who never let personal life interfere with professional excellence. But that person had eaten every meal alone, had forgotten what laughter sounded like, had built an empire and lost herself somewhere in the foundation. "I'll be ready for the meeting," Claire said, voice flat, final. "Will you—" "Yes?" Mara hung up. Claire sat in the dark, phone in hand, feeling the weight of two worlds colliding. She could go back, could return to the person she'd been, the one who never turned her phone off, who never chose dinner over duty, who never let herself want something that couldn't be optimized or controlled. Or she could move forward, could learn to be someone who did both, who showed up for work and showed up for life, who was excellent and human in equal measure. She opened her laptop, read the briefing materials, made notes in the margins, prepared herself with the same precision she'd always brought, because choosing Noah didn't mean abandoning everything else. It meant making space for something new. At 7, her phone buzzed, a text from Noah. "Good morning. Ben asked if I was seeing you again this week. I said I hoped so. He said you should come for dinner sometime. Meet him. He wants to know if you really think velociraptors are underrated." Claire stared at the message, at the casual invitation, the way Noah's life included his son without apology, the way he wasn't hiding her or compartmentalizing, just weaving her into the fabric of what already existed. That terrified her more than any board meeting, because meeting Ben meant this was real, meant she couldn't pretend this was just coffee and conversation, meant she was stepping into someone's actual life with actual stakes and actual consequences. She typed back, "I'd like that. When?" "Friday, I'll make spaghetti. It's the only thing I can cook that doesn't come from a box. Friday works. 30. Ben goes to bed at 8, so we'd have a couple of hours. Perfect." She set the phone down, looked at herself in the mirror, saw a woman who'd just agreed to meet a 7-year-old whose opinion would matter more than any board member's. The board meeting was brutal. 9 executives, 2 hours. Questions she answered with practiced precision. But something had shifted. She heard herself speak and recognized the performance. The way she modulated her voice, the way she used silence as strategy, the way she'd turned human interaction into tactical advantage. It had always been this way. She'd just stopped noticing. Now she noticed, and noticing made her tired. By 11, the meeting ended. Acquisition approved. 8-figure deal closed with a handshake and a signature. She should feel triumphant, powerful, essential. Instead, she felt hollow. Mara followed her back to her office, closed the door. "That was impressive," Mara said. "Thank you, but you weren't there. Not really. You said all the right things, made all the right moves, but your mind was somewhere else." Claire turned to face her. "I closed the deal." "You did, but it cost you something. I could see it. The way you had to force yourself to care, that's new." Claire sat down heavily, rubbed her eyes. "I'm tired," she said. Simple, true. "Of what?" "This. All of it. The performing, the optimizing, the treating every conversation like a negotiation." Mara studied her with something that might have been concern. Or fear. With Mara, the two looked similar. "You built this," Mara said quietly. "This company, this reputation, this life, and it cost everything. I watched you do it. I helped you do it. And now you're telling me you're tired of it. I'm telling you I want more. More what? More life. More moments that matter. More conversations that don't have agendas." "With who?" Claire met her eyes. "That's not your business." "It is if it affects your performance. My performance closed an 8-figure deal this morning, while running on fumes. What happens when the fumes run out?" The question hung between them. Heavy, real. Claire thought about Noah. About the way he showed up for Ben every single day despite his own exhaustion. About how he'd made space for her without sacrificing what mattered most. "Then I learned to run on something else," Claire said. Mara absorbed that, nodded slowly. "Okay, but be careful. Whatever this is, whoever this is, they're changing you. And in your position, change is dangerous. Maybe. Or maybe I've been dangerous to myself this whole time. Mara left. Claire sat alone in her office with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view she never looked at. Her phone buzzed. Noah again. "How's your day?" Such a simple question. The kind that expected a real answer. Not a performance. Just truth. She typed exhausting, successful, empty. That's a lot of feelings for one morning. I closed a major deal. Should feel good, doesn't? Why not? Because I realized I've been performing for so long, I forgot what it feels like to just be. A pause. Then, I know that feeling. After my ex left, I performed being okay for Ben. For so long, I forgot I was allowed to not be okay. When did you stop performing? I haven't, not completely, but I'm trying. You're helping. Claire felt warmth spread through her chest. How? You see me. The exhausted parts, the scared parts, the parts that aren't impressive or useful, and you stay anyway. She stared at the message, at the vulnerability, at the way he kept offering her truth without demanding anything back. Same, she typed. You see me too. Good, we can see each other. That's something. It's everything. The week moved in strange rhythm. Days at the office felt longer. Meetings felt more pointless. Claire caught herself watching the clock, counting hours until Friday. Mara noticed, said nothing, but her silence was louder than accusations. Wednesday. Claire left work at 6. Unheard of. She had dinner alone at a small restaurant near her apartment. Not the penthouse. The apartment was a hotel room she'd been living in for 15 years. She ordered pasta, ate slowly, tasted it. The waiter asked if everything was okay. She realized she'd been smiling. Yes, she said. Everything's okay. Her phone buzzed. Noah. Ben drew you a picture. He won't show me what it is. Says it's a surprise for Friday. Should I be worried? Depends on how you feel about dinosaurs wearing crowns. I'm pro-dinosaur monarchy. Good answer. Ben will approve. Thursday night, Claire stood in her closet trying to decide what to wear to meet a 7-year-old. Nothing felt right. Too formal suggested she was trying too hard. Too casual suggested she didn't care. Too expensive suggested she was showing off wealth. She settled on jeans and a simple sweater. Realized she was wearing the same thing she'd worn to every dinner with Noah. Maybe that was the point. Maybe consistency was its own kind of honesty. She lay in bed unable to sleep, staring at the ceiling, running scenarios. What if Ben didn't like her? What if she said the wrong thing? What if she couldn't connect with a child the way she connected with Noah? What if her presence in their life made things complicated instead of better? Her phone buzzed at midnight. She grabbed it. Noah. Are you awake? Yes, me too. Ben's asleep. I'm lying here panicking. About what? Tomorrow. You meeting him. What if it's too much, too fast? What if he gets attached and this doesn't work out? What if I'm setting him up for another loss? Claire's heart broke. For Noah. For Ben. For the weight of being someone's entire world and being terrified of breaking them. We can wait, she typed, if you're not ready. I'm not ready. I'm just scared. Of what? That this matters. That you matter. That if I let you in and then lose you, it won't just be me who hurts. It'll be Ben, too. Claire sat up in bed, held the phone with both hands. Noah, I can't promise I won't hurt you. I don't know how to do this. I've never done this. But I can promise I'll try. I'll show up. I'll be honest. I won't perform or pretend or turn this into something transactional. That's all I need. Good, because it's all I have to give. A pause, then Claire. Yeah? I'm falling for you. I need you to know that. So if you're not in this, if this is just an experiment or a distraction, tell me now. Before Ben meets you. Before this gets more complicated. Claire stared at the message. At the words that changed everything. I'm falling for you. No one had ever said that to her. Not like this. Not without wanting something. Not without an angle. She could run, could protect herself, could end this before it got messier. Or she could jump. "I'm falling for you too," she typed, hands shaking. "And it terrifies me, but I'm in this. I want to be in this." Okay. So, tomorrow we'll have spaghetti, and Ben will show you his drawing, and we'll figure out what this is together. Together. Claire set the phone down, lay back, stared at the ceiling with a smile she couldn't control. Somewhere across the city, Noah was doing the same. Friday arrived with the kind of nervous energy that made Claire's hands shake while she applied minimal makeup. She changed shirts 3 times, settled on the blue sweater, the one Noah had seen before, the one that felt like safety. Work was impossible. She attended meetings without retaining information, signed documents without reading them. Mara appeared in her office at noon with an expression that mixed concern and resignation. "You're leaving early today," Mara said. Not a question. Yes, for personal. The same personal that's been taking up your attention all week. Claire met her eyes. Yes. Mara nodded, calculating. "Is it serious?" "I think so. Do I need to prepare for anything? Media public relations complications?" "No, this is separate, private, mine." Mara absorbed that. Then carefully, "You're allowed to have a life." Claire blinked, surprised. "What? A life? Outside this office? Outside this company?" "You're allowed to have one. I just want to make sure you can handle both. Because if you can't, if this splits your focus and affects your judgment, that's when it becomes my business. I can handle both." "Can you?" "Because I've never seen you try. You've always been all in on work, 100%, no distractions, no compromises, and now you're dividing your attention. I just need to know you can maintain excellence in both places." Claire thought about that, about Noah juggling work and fatherhood, about how he showed up fully for Ben and fully for his job and fully for her without apologizing for any of it. "I'm learning," she said. "Give me time." Mara nodded. "Okay. But Claire, be careful. Whatever this is, whoever they are, they have power over you now. That makes you vulnerable, and vulnerable is dangerous in your position." "I know." "Do you, because vulnerable means someone can hurt you, can use you, can expose you. He won't." Claire didn't answer. Mara didn't push. "Okay," Mara said finally. "But if that changes, I need to know immediately." She left. Claire sat alone with the weight of it, the risk she was taking, the way she was handing Noah pieces of herself she'd never given anyone. At 4, she left, drove to Bridgeport, used the address Noah had texted that morning. The building was older, not run down, just lived in. Real. She climbed stairs to the 3rd floor, found apartment 3B, stood outside the door trying to calm her breathing. She could still leave, could text an excuse, could retreat into safety. Instead, she knocked. The door opened. Noah stood there in jeans and a t-shirt, barefoot, smiling like she was the best thing he'd seen all week. "Hi," he said. "Hi." Behind him, a small voice, "Is that her?" Noah stepped aside. Ben appeared, skinny kid with Noah's eyes and a dinosaur t-shirt. He studied her with the serious intensity of someone who understood stakes. "Hi, Ben," Claire said, kneeling to his level, not looming, not performing, just meeting him where he was. "Hi," Ben said. "Then, do you like velociraptors?" "I think they're underrated." Ben's face lit up. "See, Dad, I told you she was smart." Noah laughed. "You did tell me that." Claire stood. Noah gestured her inside. The apartment was small, clean, filled with evidence of life. Ben's drawings on the fridge, books stacked on shelves, a guitar case in the corner gathering dust. "Sorry, it's cramped," Noah said. "It's perfect." Ben untugged her hand. "I made you something. Want to see?" "Very much." He led her to a small table, showed her a drawing, crayon on construction paper, 3 stick figures holding hands, the middle one wearing a crown made of triangles. "That's you," Ben said, pointing to the crowned figure. "Dad said you're important, so I made you a queen." Claire felt her throat tighten. She looked at Noah. He shrugged, smiling. "It's beautiful," she told Ben. "Can I keep it? That's why I made it." She held the drawing like it was worth more than any contract she'd ever signed. Because it was. This was a child's acceptance. His welcome. His way of saying she mattered. Dinner was chaos in the best way. Noah burned the garlic bread. Ben talked nonstop about dinosaurs and space and why his teacher was wrong about the solar system. Claire listened, asked questions, learned that Ben was brilliant and kind and carried his father's gentle heart. After dinner, Noah did dishes while Claire and Ben sat on the couch. Ben showed her his favorite book, asked her to read it. She did, used different voices for different characters, made him laugh. Noah watched from the kitchen. His expression was something Claire had never seen before. Soft, hopeful, like he was watching his two worlds merge and finding they fit better than he'd imagined. At 8, Noah put Ben to bed. Claire heard them through the thin walls. Ben's voice asking questions, Noah's gentle answers, a story, a kiss, the click of a nightlight. Noah emerged, sat beside her on the couch, not touching, just close. "He likes you," Noah said. "I like him. He's amazing." "He is, but he's also scared. You saw it right, the way he watched you, making sure you were real, making sure you weren't going to disappear." "I saw it. He's lost too many people. His mom, his grandparents moved to Florida. His best friend from preschool moved away. He's learned that people leave. That's his normal." Claire felt the weight of that. "I won't leave unless you ask me to." "I won't ask. Then I'll stay." They sat in the quiet apartment. The sounds of the city filtered through old windows. Somewhere down the hall, a neighbor's TV played too loud. Normal sounds, real sounds, the soundtrack of actual life. "Thank you for coming," Noah said, "for meeting him, for trying. Thank you for letting me. I was terrified all day." "Me too. But you came anyway." "So did you, to that restaurant. 3 times now, even when you were scared." Noah smiled. "We're both very brave or very stupid. Maybe both." He reached for her hand, held it gently, like she was something precious he was afraid to break. "Claire, yeah, this is real for me. I need you to know that. It's real for me too." Good. They sat like that until the city lights outside shifted from dusk to dark, until Ben's breathing evened out in the next room, until the moment stretched into something that felt like belonging. Claire left at 10. Noah walked her to her car. The street was quiet. Just them and the distant hum of traffic. "Next week?" Noah asked. "Every week," Claire said. "If you'll have me, every week." They stood close, not quite touching, the space between them electric with possibility. "I should go," Claire said, not moving. "You should." Neither of them moved. Then Noah leaned in, slowly, giving her time to retreat. She didn't. He kissed her. Soft, careful, like a question. She kissed back, like an answer. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. "Good night, Claire." "Good night, Noah." She drove home with the drawing on her passenger seat. Queen Claire, crowned and flanked by 2 stick figures who'd made space for her in their small, perfect world. At home, she hung it on her refrigerator. First thing she'd ever put there. Her phone buzzed. "Ben asked if you're coming back." I said yes. He said good, that you're nice. Coming from him, that's basically a marriage proposal. Claire laughed. Typed back, "Tell him I said the dinosaur crown is the best gift I've ever received. He'll love that." And Noah, "Yeah? Thank you for tonight, for trusting me with him, with this. Thank you for showing up, always." Always, that word again, heavy with promise. Claire went to bed that night feeling something she hadn't felt in 15 years. Like she belonged somewhere. To someone. Like she was more than her utility, more than her empire, more than the sum of her achievements. She was just Claire, and that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. 3 weeks passed like water finding new channels. Claire learned that Wednesdays were for science homework at Noah's kitchen table, that Ben liked his sandwiches cut diagonally, not straight across, that Noah hummed while he did dishes unconsciously the melody of songs he'd forgotten he knew. She learned to exist in small spaces, to be content with simple meals and loud neighbors and furniture that didn't match. She learned that happiness didn't require perfection, just presence. Work continued. Meetings, deals, decisions that moved millions. But something had shifted in the way she moved through those spaces. She was excellent still, but no longer consumed. She closed her laptop at reasonable hours, left her phone face down during dinner, chose presence over performance more often than not. Mara noticed. Everyone noticed. "You're different," one of the board members said after a Thursday meeting. Calmer, less intense. He meant it as criticism. Claire heard it as progress. But the double life was wearing thin. She kept her worlds separate with surgical precision. Noah knew she was a CEO, but didn't know the scale. Didn't know about the media coverage or the speaking engagements, or the way her name appeared in business journals weekly. He knew her as Claire, who worked too much and forgot to eat lunch and laughed at his terrible jokes. That version felt more real than the one in tailored suits making decisions in glass towers. But reality had a way of collapsing carefully maintained boundaries. It happened on a Friday. Claire was at Noah's apartment. Ben was showing her his latest drawing, a T-Rex fighting a velociraptor for supremacy, when her phone rang. Mara. Unusual for this hour. "I need to take this," Claire said. Noah nodded. She stepped into the small bedroom, closed the door. "What's wrong?" Claire answered. "Have you seen the trades?" Mara asked, voice tight. "No, why?" "Someone leaked the dawn of an acquisition. The press knows. They're calling it the biggest private equity move of the decade. Your name is everywhere. Photos from the announcement. Speculation about strategy. And Claire." "What? They found something else?" Claire's blood went cold. "What did they find?" "Photos of you. From 3 weeks ago. Outside a restaurant in River North. With a man. They're asking questions. Who is he? What's the relationship? Is it affecting your judgment?" Claire sat down hard on Noah's bed. The one that was too small and had sheets that didn't match and felt like home. "They don't know who he is?" she asked carefully. "Not yet, but they will. These people are relentless. They'll find his name, his job, his address, his son, and then they'll write about how the billionaire CEO is dating a city electrician. They'll make it a story about class and power and whether you're competent to run a multi-billion-dollar company if you're distracted by a relationship. That's absurd. That's media. Claire, you need to get ahead of this. Either confirm the relationship on your terms or end it before it becomes a liability." Claire felt something crack in her chest. "End it." "I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what your options are. This goes public. It becomes news. News becomes narrative. Narrative affects stock price, board confidence, business relationships. You know how this works." She did. She'd watched it happen to other executives, watched their personal lives become ammunition, watched relationships crumble under public scrutiny. "I need to think," Claire said. "Think fast. This breaks tomorrow morning. You have maybe 12 hours to control the message." Mara hung up. Claire sat in the quiet bedroom. Through the door, she could hear Ben's laughter. Noah saying something that made him giggle harder. Normal sounds, real sounds. The soundtrack of the life she'd stumbled into and couldn't imagine leaving. But keeping it meant exposing Noah and Ben to scrutiny they'd never asked for. Meant photographers outside Ben's school. Meant articles dissecting Noah's finances and job and whether he was good enough for her. Meant Ben's classmates reading about his father online. She could protect them, could walk away now, could go back to her glass tower and cold dinners and the loneliness she knew how to manage. Or she could fight for this, could choose them, could accept that love meant risk, and risk meant vulnerability, and vulnerability meant she couldn't control the outcome. She walked back into the living room. Noah looked up from where he was sitting with Ben. His smile faded when he saw her face. "What happened?" he asked. "Can we talk after Ben goes to bed?" Noah's expression shifted. Guarded, like he'd been expecting this. Like he'd always known she'd eventually choose her other life. "Sure," he said quietly. The next 2 hours felt like waiting for execution. Claire played with Ben, read him stories, tucked him in with Noah. Ben hugged her goodnight, a full hug, not the careful half version he'd given the first few times. "See you next week?" he asked. Claire's throat closed. "I hope so." When Ben was asleep, she and Noah sat on the couch. The space between them felt wider than it had in weeks. "Tell me," Noah said. Claire explained. The leak, the photos, the media attention coming, the choice she had to make. Noah listened without interrupting. When she finished, he sat in silence for a long moment. "So you're here to end it," he finally said, voice flat, like he was forcing himself not to feel. "I'm here to ask what you want. What I want, Claire, this isn't about what I want. This is about your life, your company, your reputation. It's about us. This affects you and Ben, photographers outside his school, articles about your finances, people judging whether you're good enough for me, which is insane because it's the opposite. I'm the one who's not good enough for you." Noah's head snapped up. "Don't say that. It's true. You're a good father, a good man. You show up every day for the people you love. I spent 15 years building walls. You're teaching me how to take them down. And now I'm about to drag you into a media circus you didn't sign up for. So what are you saying?" "I'm saying I love you. And I love Ben, and I want this, want us, but only if you want it too. Only if you're willing to fight through what's coming." Noah stared at her. "You love me?" "Yes." "Since when?" "Since you asked me to tell you something true and didn't try to fix what I said. Since you introduced me to your son even though it scared you. Since you showed me that showing up matters more than being perfect." Noah's eyes were wet. "I love you too. Have for weeks." Was terrified to say it. "Why?" "Because people I love leave. My ex. My parents emotionally, if not physically. I learned love means loss. But you stayed. Week after week. You showed up for Ben, for me, for us. Even when it was uncomfortable or inconvenient. You chose this. I'm still choosing this. But Noah, you need to understand what you're choosing. My life is complicated. Public. Once this breaks, you can't take it back. The world will know. They'll have opinions. Some of them will be cruel." Noah was quiet, processing. She watched him think it through, saw the moment he understood the full weight. "What about Ben?" he asked. "Will they leave him alone?" "I can't promise that. I'll do everything I can to protect him. Hire security if needed. But kids talk, parents talk. It might affect him at school. That's not fair to him. No, it's not. So maybe we should wait. Keep this quiet until he's older, better able to handle it." Claire felt her heart splinter. Because he was right. It was the smart choice. The protective choice. The choice that put Ben first, which is what good fathers did. "Okay," she whispered. Noah looked at her. "You're agreeing? You're protecting your son. I respect that. I'd expect nothing less. But you love me." "Yes, and I love you." "Yes. So we're choosing to be miserable for Ben's sake." Claire almost laughed, almost cried. "Yes." Noah scrubbed his face with his hands. "That's the stupidest plan I've ever heard. It's the right plan. Is it because I've spent 3 years teaching Ben that running from hard things doesn't make them easier, that you face what scares you, that courage means showing up even when you're terrified? And now I'm supposed to tell him that love isn't worth fighting for, that when things get complicated you quit. You're not quitting, you're protecting him. From what? From seeing his father happy, from learning that love means choosing someone even when it's hard, from understanding that the best things in life require courage. Claire felt tears slip down her face. He's 7, Noah. He doesn't need this kind of complicated. He's 7, and he's already lost his mother, already learned that people leave when things get hard. And now I'm going to prove her right. Going to show him that his father loves him so much, he'll sacrifice his own happiness. That's not protection, Claire. That's martyrdom. And it doesn't help him. It hurts him. So what do we do? Noah stood, paced the small living room, then stopped in front of her. We tell the truth, he said. We do it on our terms. We explain that, yes, I'm a city electrician and you're a CEO, and we met when we both got stood up and we fell in love anyway. We don't apologize. We don't hide. We show Ben and everyone else that love doesn't require perfect circumstances. Just honest choice. That's brave. That's terrifying. But you're worth being terrified for. Claire stood, crossed to him, took his face in her hands. You're sure? She asked. I've never been less sure of anything. But I'm choosing you anyway. Choosing us. Because the alternative is living without you. And I can't do that, won't do that. She kissed him. Deep, real. The kind of kiss that tasted like commitment and fear and hope braided together. When they pulled apart, both were shaking. I need to call Mara, Claire said. Set up a statement. Control the narrative before someone else does. Okay. And Noah. Yeah, thank you for choosing this, for choosing me. Always that word. Heavy with meaning now. Heavy with promise and risk and the full weight of what they were stepping into. Claire called Mara, explained the plan. Mara was silent for a long beat. You're going public with this, Mara said. Not a question. Yes, on your terms. Yes. Okay, I'll draft a statement, short, direct, confirms the relationship, emphasizes that your personal life doesn't affect your professional judgment. We'll release it first thing tomorrow, beat the tabloids. Thank you. Claire. Yeah. Is he worth it, this man, this risk? Is he worth potentially damaging everything you've built? Claire looked at Noah, at the way he was watching her with careful hope, at the apartment that was small and imperfect and felt more like home than her penthouse ever had. Yes, she said, he's worth it. Then I'll make this work, because you deserve to be happy, even if happy is complicated. The statement went out at 6 a.m. Short, professional, honest. Claire Harrington confirms she is in a relationship. Her personal life remains private, and it does not impact her leadership of Harrington Capital. She appreciates respect for her privacy and that of her partner. By 7, the media had the story. By 8, Noah's name was public. By 9, photographers were outside his building. Claire showed up at 9:30 with coffee and security. Noah opened the door, looking shell-shocked. There are photographers downstairs. I know, I brought security. They'll keep them at a distance. Claire, this is insane. I know, I'm sorry. Ben appeared behind him. Why are there people with cameras outside? Noah looked at Claire. This was it. The moment they'd have to explain. Claire knelt down to Ben's level. Because your dad and I care about each other. And sometimes when people care about each other, other people want to know about it. Like famous people, Ben asked. Sort of. I have a job that makes me kind of famous. And because of that, people are interested in who your dad is. Ben processed this. Are you like a movie star? No, I run a company. But it's a big company. So people pay attention. Is that why you're on TV sometimes? Claire blinked. You've seen me on TV. Ben nodded. Dad was watching the news. You were talking about business stuff. I asked if it was you. Dad said yes, but it wasn't a big deal. Claire looked at Noah. He shrugged. I Googled you after that coworker showed me the article. Wanted to understand who you were, but it didn't change anything. You were still just Claire to me. Why didn't you say anything? Because you'd spent weeks being just Claire, letting yourself be seen without the resume. I wasn't going to take that away from you. Your company, your money, your power, those are things you do, not who you are. Claire felt something break open in her chest. Because he'd known. For weeks. And he'd kept loving her anyway. Kept showing up. Kept choosing her. Thank you, she whispered. Ben tugged her hand. So people want to take pictures because you're important. Something like that. That's cool. Can I tell kids at school? Claire and Noah looked at each other. This was going to be Ben's reality now. Being the kid whose dad dated someone famous. Having that be part of his identity whether he wanted it or not. If you want, Claire said carefully. But Ben, some kids might say things. Might be curious or ask questions or maybe not be nice about it. And that's not fair to you. So if it ever gets hard, you tell your dad or me. Okay, Ben nodded seriously. Okay, but I don't think it'll be hard. I think it's cool. Children's resilience. The way they adapted to new normals without the baggage adults carried. The weekend was chaos. Controlled chaos, but chaos nonetheless. Claire hired security to keep photographers at a distance. Released a second statement asking for privacy, especially regarding Ben. Most outlets respected it. Some didn't. Sunday evening, they attempted normal. Dinner at the apartment. Ben's homework. A movie on the couch with Ben between them, his head on Claire's shoulder, falling asleep before the ending. Noah carried him to bed, came back, sat close to Claire. This is our life now, he said. Photographers, articles, security, people having opinions about us. Yes, it's a lot. It is, too much. Noah thought about it, really thought. No, he said, because this is still mine. He gestured at the apartment, at Ben's room, at the space they'd created. They can write whatever they want, take whatever pictures, but they can't touch this. What we have here, that's ours. Claire leaned her head on his shoulder. I love you. I love you too, even with the photographers, even with the photographers, even with the articles, even with all of it, because you show up, you're here. In my cramped apartment with my sleeping kid and my burnt garlic bread. You chose this, chose us. That matters more than anything else. They sat in the quiet. The city hummed outside. Ben breathed evenly in the next room. Normal sounds. Real sounds. Claire's phone buzzed. She ignored it. Noah noticed. You can check it. I don't want to. Why not? Because right now, in this moment, I'm exactly where I want to be. And nothing on that phone is more important than this. Noah smiled, kissed her temple. Good answer. Monday brought new challenges. A board meeting where members questioned whether the media attention affected her judgment. Claire handled it with the same precision she'd always brought. Made it clear her personal life was separate, that her performance spoke for itself, that their concern was noted but unnecessary. Mara pulled her aside afterward. That was good, strong. But Claire, this attention won't fade quickly. You'll need to be prepared for continued scrutiny. For articles about Noah's finances, his job, whether he's with you for money. For speculation about Ben. For people dissecting every public appearance. I know. And you're still choosing this? Yes. Why, you could have anyone. Someone from your world. Someone who understands wealth and power and doesn't come with complications like an ex-wife and a 7-year-old. Claire met her eyes. Because he sees me. The real me. Not the useful parts. Not the impressive parts. Just me. And that's worth fighting for. Mara nodded slowly. Okay. Then I'll fight with you. Keep the narrative controlled. Protect what matters. But Claire, if this ever stops being worth it, if the cost becomes too high, you tell me, and we'll pivot. Thank you. That night, Claire went to Noah's apartment. He was making spaghetti again, his one reliable dish. Ben was setting the table, explaining the proper dinosaur hierarchy to anyone who would listen. "How was your day?" Noah asked when she walked in. Such a simple question. One most people asked without thinking. But coming from him, it meant everything. Because he cared about the answer. Cared about her days and her struggles and her victories in equal measure. "Complicated," Claire said. "But good. Yours? Danny showed me an article about us. Wanted to know if you were really a billionaire. I said I didn't ask because it didn't matter." "What did he say?" "He said I was either the smartest man alive or the dumbest. Hadn't decided which." "Which do you think?" Noah set down the spoon, crossed to her, took her hands. "I think I'm the luckiest, because I get to love you, get to have you here, in my life, with my son, building something that doesn't need to make sense to anyone but us." Claire felt tears threaten. Even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because easy doesn't mean anything. Hard means we're choosing each other anyway, choosing us. That's what matters. Ben appeared. "Are you guys gonna kiss again? Because that's gross, and also I'm hungry." They laughed. Claire kissed Ben's head instead. "No more kissing until after dinner. Promise." "Good." They ate spaghetti. Ben talked about dinosaurs and space, and the kid at school who said his dad was dating a famous person. Noah handled dishes while Claire helped Ben with homework. Normal evening things, ordinary things, things that mattered more than any board meeting or business deal. After Ben was asleep, Claire and Noah sat on the couch. She leaned against him, his arm around her shoulders. Comfortable. "Right. Tell me something true," Noah said softly. The question he'd asked that first night. The one that had started everything. Claire thought about what was true, what mattered. "I was terrified I was unlovable," she said. "Not because of who I was, but because I'd become someone who didn't know how to accept love. But you taught me, showed me that love isn't about being perfect or useful or impressive. It's about showing up, being present, choosing someone even when it's scary." "And now," Noah asked, "now I know I'm lovable. Because you love me. Ben loves me. And I'm learning to love myself. The messy parts. The imperfect parts. The parts that aren't optimized or controlled. All of it." Noah kissed her head. "Tell me something else true. I want this. Long term. I want Sunday dinners and homework help and burnt garlic bread. I want Ben's drawings on my fridge and your humming while you do dishes, and the way this apartment feels more like home than anywhere I've ever lived." "That's a lot of wanting." "I know. Does it scare you? Terrifies me. But I want it too. Want you in our lives, permanently, officially, in every way that matters." Claire sat up, looked at him. "Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm not proposing, not yet, but I'm saying I want to get there. Want to build toward that, if you do." "I do." They kissed, long and slow and full of promise. The kind of kiss that tasted like future and commitment, and everything they were building together. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. "So what now?" Claire asked. "Now we keep showing up. We handle the media. We protect Ben. We build our life together one day at a time. We let people have their opinions, and we keep choosing each other anyway." "That sounds perfect." "That sounds terrifying." "Same thing." Noah laughed. "Maybe it is." They sat together until late, talking about logistics and boundaries and how to navigate two worlds colliding, making plans, building framework, creating the foundation for something real. When Claire finally left, Noah walked her to her car. The street was quiet. Photographers long gone. Just them and the city and the cold wind cutting through. "See you tomorrow?" Noah asked. "Every tomorrow," Claire said. "Good." They kissed goodnight. Claire drove home to her penthouse that was slowly becoming less of a home than a place she kept her clothes. Her phone buzzed. Noah. Ben just asked if you're going to live with us someday. I said maybe. He said good. He likes having you around. Claire smiled, typed back, I like being around, both of you. Good, because we're keeping you. Promise? Promise. Claire walked into her empty penthouse. Looked at Ben's drawing still on the fridge. The only thing that made this place feel lived in. She thought about Noah's question. About living with them someday. About making that cramped apartment home. About being there for morning chaos and bedtime stories and everything in between. It should terrify her. The commitment, the domesticity, the way it would change everything. Instead, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. She pulled out her phone, called Mara. It's late, Mara answered. I know, but I need to start house hunting. For what? Something bigger? 3 bedrooms, good school district, normal neighborhood. Somewhere Ben can have his own room and Noah can have space for his guitar and I can have an office but not live in it. Silence. Then you're moving in with them. Eventually, when we're ready, but I want to be prepared. Claire, that's a big step. I know. You're sure? More sure than I've ever been about anything. Mara exhaled. Okay, I'll send you listings tomorrow, but Claire, yeah? I'm proud of you. For choosing this. For letting yourself be happy. For being brave enough to want something that doesn't fit in a quarterly report. Thank you. Don't thank me, just be happy, that's enough. Claire hung up. Stood in her empty penthouse looking at the city lights. Tomorrow, she'd look at houses. Tomorrow, she'd navigate more media attention. Tomorrow, she'd show up at Noah's apartment for dinner and homework and the ordinary magic of their growing life together. Tomorrow, she'd keep choosing love. Keep choosing presence. Keep choosing the brave, terrifying, beautiful thing they were building. But tonight she was just Claire, standing in her apartment with a child's drawing on her fridge, loved by a good man and his brilliant son. Exactly where she was supposed to be. Finally.